Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Mickey Feldman-Simon. I am the founder and CEO of I'm Back at Work, and I'm very excited to have Julie Boyer here with us today. Julie will be presenting to us about how to finally find a job you love. I hope you join us for other live webinars and also watch our on-demand webinars. And now, before we get started, I just want to make sure that everybody can navigate the GoToWebinar panel. So your webinar panel may look like the image on the right where it is closed up, or the image on the left where it is expanded. And to open and close the webinar panel, all you need to do is just click on the orange arrow at the top, and that will open or close the panel for you. You can also just drag and move it out of the way if it is now in front of the presentation. To do that, you just place your mouse at the top of the panel and you click and you move it out of the way. You just drag it out of sight. Now, in the last 5 minutes of the webinar, we will have a Q&A session. And to ask questions, you click on the gray questions bar when the panel is open. And then you type in your questions in the blue rectangle underneath. And we will address all of your questions in the last few minutes of the webinar. So before I pass it on to Julie, I am going to turn off my video camera so you can concentrate on the presentation. And Julie, all yours. Thank you for joining us, Julie.
Thank you, Mickey. It's very exciting to be here and doing this with you. So I'm Julie. I'm a coach, and I help women who are stuck in the wrong job find meaningful work. And I do that so that they can be happy with their lives. There's a much bigger picture to finding meaningful work. And I really hold that when we have work that is aligned with who we are and our strengths, and where we're able to do what we do, what comes naturally to us, and make a positive impact with that, and we're able to focus on things that are meaningful or deeply meaningful to us, I really believe that work then has the potential to lift us to higher heights of happiness and meaning in our lives. So that alignment can be a vehicle to express who you really are and what you're really here to do in this lifetime. So I hold that work in a really big way. I love my job in this very same way. I feel grateful to have found this work, and I feel deeply committed to my clients as human beings. I feel deeply committed to the process of my own ongoing growth in this field. It's hard to find words to express just how meaningful it is to me. And for me, it goes way beyond the fact that it's a job, that it's a paycheck, that kind of thing. But that wasn't always the case. So I struggled for probably over a decade, I don't know, 15 years or so, to find my professional footing in the world. My background is as an artist, and I really, I had good jobs. My life looked good on paper. My resume was good. I did a good job wherever I went. I was in education. And in a sense, I really liked the jobs that I had, but I always had this lingering sense that there was something different and much more for me out there somewhere. I just felt like I wasn't living my potential, and that was frustrating and at times painful because it was hard for me to bridge that gap and to find the answer. What is the work? Where do I belong in this world? And so eventually I went back to get my master's of fine arts, and that didn't work. I was just as lost when I came back as I was when I went in, and my life kind of came into focus. I had kind of a life crisis where everything became clear, or many things became clear in a short amount of time. And I picked up a book on leadership coaching. And when I read this book, it was like the feeling of this inner yes was so palpable and so clear to me, and so different from the frustration and noise that I had had in my head for so many years, that I really decided to follow it. Everything in this book spoke to the things that I care about and think about in my inner world, in my inner life, and the kind of things that people came to me with anyway for help as a friend. And I knew this was my path, but I didn't know how to get there. So I was a professional organizer at the time, and I got into organizer coaching. So I did that training for a year. Then I got into life coaching, and I did training with CTI. I did their certification program as well. So that's a couple years. And then I did their leadership training, which is a year-long immersive experiential training. And then I went into Lucid Living Great Story work as a coach, doing their training. And now I'm in their mastery program. And that piece, that Lucid Living piece, has allowed me to bring to my life coaching new skills around healing and helping people really unravel deep patterns in their lives so that they can free themselves and be who they really want to be and experience life the way they actually want to experience life. So I love this, and that's a little bit about me. I do run private and group programs, which feel free to reach out if you want to hear more about that. I'll give you my information at the end. But let's get on with the webinar. So today's topic is how to finally find meaningful work. And I use that word finally, or sorry, how to finally find a job that you love, you actually love, that makes you happy. And I use that word finally because for many of us, it takes us a while to get there. And it's a bit of a process figuring out what is the work that's going to make you really happy, and then how do you get that work from where you are. So this webinar is going to cover the mindset shift of basically taking you from a mindset that is fairly limited, that will only take you so far and has the potential to kind of get you in a feedback loop, trap you in a kind of pattern. And I'm going to take you into a paradigm or a mindset that is empowering and opens up lots of possibilities and is a much, it's going to allow you to take responsibility for this process of moving yourself in the direction that you really want to go. So I'm assuming that you are any of these things. So you're thinking about going back to work and you haven't really embarked in the process of finding work yet, or you've been looking for work or trying to figure out what you want to do for work or what would make you happy, but you're stuck because you haven't landed on something that makes you feel clear and confident enough to take action. And also that maybe you are already in the process of applying, you know what you want, you're clear, and you're taking action already. No matter where you are, this webinar is going to help you be aware of the traps, the possible traps that you don't want to fall into that would keep you stuck, so that you can stay in this empowered, really leadership-oriented place where you're confident enough to take action, even when you don't know what the outcome will be, and even when you don't know how to create what you want. You trust yourself to take each step to move forward and create it. So I'm assuming that you are like my clients in that you're ready and willing to do whatever is needed of you to make this shift. You've joined I Am Back at Work. You probably have done other things. You've talked to people. My clients come with all of this willingness to create change. And yet, at least the people that I work with are, they've been stuck for a while. And so they're frustrated and they're like, just tell me what to do and I will do it. And that willingness is fantastic. And on the other hand, I notice that they're all making the same mistake. And so I want to tell you about this because this is the pitfall that I don't want you to find yourself in. And I have an ear for it. Like I can start to hear if they're in this pattern if I meet somebody and they ask me or they want help with, what's the job that I can get? I don't want to go back into my old industry. I want to make a career change. I'm not sure what I want. Here's my resume. Here are my strengths. What do you think I can get? What am I qualified for? And that seems like a really logical way of going about answering that question of how do I finally find a job that I love? Except that when somebody asks that question, I know that they're embracing a kind of logical series of steps in their head of problem solving that actually isn't the right application for that kind of problem solving. It's not that application of it isn't going to get you. You're actually going to skip over the parts of the process of finding work that you love that are going to give you all the information that give you clarity and confidence. So hopefully that if that's not clear, it will become more clear as I go on. So there's two ways of approaching this problem. There's one that doesn't work and one that does work. And so this is what I'm getting at, this old paradigm and the new paradigm that I want to point out to you, help you avoid the old one and help you to create and build the new one. So just know that this webinar is about looking at these 2 points of view. And when you can see the first one, the one that doesn't work, or that the one that is more limited, that will limit your possibilities and it will limit your own access to your confidence and your clarity and that feeling of conviction that you really can do it. When you're able to see that clearly, you can spot when you're doing it and just know, okay, I don't want to go in that direction. And then when you're able to see the way that does work, and it should resonate with you, there's parts of you that will probably, when I describe the new paradigm, will be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that rings as true to me, right? That you can start to choose that route as a way, because you'll understand why that works. So we're going to talk about the way that doesn't work first and get really clear on that. Now, when you're looking for a career change, it all starts with longing. So the first thing that happens is you think to yourself, well, I need a job. I've been out of work. I've been raising my kids for a little bit, and I got to get back to work. And there's a longing there. It's, that longing could be, I want to go back to work because I want to be stimulated in a professional way. Or it can be, I want to go back to work because I want to make money for my family. Or my nose is running here, so excuse me. The longing can come from any place, but that longing is real. And because it's real, it's going to feel vulnerable. And this is natural for you to feel vulnerable when you come up with something that you want and you're not there yet, and you may not know how to get there, or even if it's possible. And what we do when we feel this kind of vulnerability is our brain's default center will give us a kind of primal uh-oh. Is like, even unconsciously, we'll be saying, uh-oh, something's wrong, right? Like we're on alert. And what I find people jump into is they want to be responsible. They don't want to take a risk that's going to impact their family. They want to make enough money, or they want to change, but they don't want to take such a risk that there might be failure involved. There's this feeling of like, I want to do this right because I don't want to fail. I don't want to create a negative impact. And there's an uh-oh. And all these questions come up, like, will I be good at that job that I think I want to do? Will I even like it? Like, how do I know I'm going to like that job if I do choose to apply and then I do get that job? Will I be able to support myself if I choose a career that I really love? Or do I have to sacrifice money if I'm going to have fulfillment? A lot of people think it's one or the other. Am I qualified enough? Am I going to show up? If I'm changing industries, are they going to be able to see that my talents translate across industries? And will they hire me? So we're full of these questions, which are legitimate questions. And what we do with the questions and that uh-oh of the vulnerability is we reach outside for some sense of control, some sense of strategy, or an authority out there that's going to tell us what we need to do so that we can have that feeling of there's a guarantee. And this is natural and human for us to do this. Like, there's a part of our being that really only knows how to think in this way and is super scared around taking risks. So that's when you find yourself looking at personality tests and trying to see, like, well, what are my strengths? Maybe this test will help me know. And personality tests are great, so don't get me wrong, but I think they're just a small part of the process. They're not going to give you answers to this bigger question that you're asking. You might find yourself combing listings on LinkedIn and just trying to search for where's a job description that sounds good to me, or what sounds possible to me, almost like you're shopping. You might be asking friends or your spouse, what do you think I should be doing? And you might even be in the interview stage already. But one thing that I find is when you enter the interview stage and you're not really clear on what you want, you don't have that visceral knowing, there's the tendency to want to cancel those interviews like the night before. Or to go to the interviews not even knowing if you get the job, if you would take it, and that feeling of being lost that happens there. So when we go to these outside sources to tell us the things that to tell us what to do and to tell us the things that we think we need to know, it's confusing because those things don't actually answer the questions that we have, or they don't answer them adequately. And this is where you can start to feel really lost. And if you're not in this place right now. That's totally fine. There may be another area of your life where you can get into this place where you're trying to create change and you start to doubt yourself. So you can apply this to anything. But when you're in this place where you know what you want and you can't see the way to getting there, and you're doing what you think you should do or what one is supposed to do to take responsibility for that, and you're not getting answers, then that can leave you in a place where you're just starting to question yourself, and you're starting to think, oh, maybe this just isn't possible, or maybe it's not worth it. Something's not working, and this is actually painful now because I want something so badly and I can't see the possibility of getting it. And so we tend to blame ourselves at this point. And it's a really hard place to be and a place that I don't want you to fall into. And what I've heard people say, admit to me in this process is I was really starting to wonder if I would ever be happy. And I was there for many years. I was really there. Like, how come everybody else can figure this out? And it's so hard for me to figure out. So there's a reason why that's happening. And it has to do with your approach to this problem. And also that you haven't been educated on, the way to do it that will give you what you need, which I'm about to do. So we want to get rid of that, because at this point, when you've gotten to that point, often what happens is you just resign. Resignation or procrastination or complete denial of possibility. Something can happen in you where you're like, okay, I'm just going to go back and do the thing that I did before. I can try to make it work, or I don't need to be happy, or I don't need to make more money. Some kind of concession is made that I really don't want you to make, because you don't have to make. You should really pursue and fully investigate the thing you actually long for before you decide that it's not possible. Okay, so now we're in a mindset washing machine. We really want to just set that aside. And so, I don't know, shake it off if you feel like you're in that mindset. And I'm going to show you this other way. And this really is, it's a new way of thinking. It's a new way of being with this problem that you're trying to solve. And it's a way that offers such potential for positive impact on you beyond even this job thing. So, and I'm going to show you the steps. They're similar steps. It all starts with a longing, just like where you were before. And so you want to, it starts with that longing, I need to get a job, but then you want to look underneath that. Well, what is it about? Why do you want to get a job? Or why do you want to go back to work? Or why do you want to switch careers or industries? And you think inside yourself, and it might start with, a feeling of, well, I'm tired of this, or I'm frustrated of this, or I don't feel like I'm free, or I want more flexibility to be with my family, or I want to make more money so that my family has a certain lifestyle, something like that. Whatever it is, dig a little bit deeper and just stay with that longing and try to get a little clear on what that is, what the longing really is. So when I work with clients, we'll go underneath the goal of getting the job and we'll find the real goal, because often the more real goal is emotional and it's experiential. So it might be, I want to feel peace and satisfaction in my life. The job I had before was frustrating and I felt like I was in a box, and I want peace and satisfaction. And for me, that means a sense of freedom. Or for you, peace and satisfaction, if that's what you want, might mean knowing that you're making a positive impact, seeing your positive impact on a person's face. It might mean working one-on-one with people. So there's, it's a limitless where your longing might come from and what the true desire is underneath that longing for a new job. And so you want to start there. And when you start there, it's vulnerable. So we don't get to skip the vulnerability phase, but the difference is what we do with that vulnerability. So if you're honoring your longing and you understand that the longing is a good thing to have and it's a good thing to own and to honor, then you might be more open to interpreting the vulnerability as a positive thing. So what you want to do with vulnerability here is, instead of saying something's wrong, is really slow down and say, okay, something is happening. Because vulnerability is a sign that something is happening, something important is happening. It's not necessarily a sign of threat. It could be a sign of growth and opening for you. So Brene Brown says, the there's a quote by her, but she offers that vulnerability is the birthplace of creativity and joy. And I think it's the birthplace of change too. I don't think we get to create change without feeling vulnerable. So the metaphor that I have for you at this stage is, if you are my age and you watch the Brady Bunch growing up, then you know about the exercise that they gave the teenagers there to take care of an egg in a box for a few weeks. And that was so that they could learn the responsibility of parenting, to experience what that responsibility felt like. And this is exactly how you want to hold your own vulnerability. You want to step in as the adult and really recognize something important is happening, something is gestating here, and you want to take care of this space for yourself. You want to take care of this part of yourself. You want to protect your creative ideas from any critical voices that might be coming in from the outside, or your own critical voice. You really just want to take really good care, and that is taking real responsibility. And then the second step, instead of reaching out because you're in fear for somebody to tell you what to do or to tell you who you are, instead you're going to reach inside. And when you reach inside, all of the answers are within you. And I know that you've probably heard that before, and at this point it is cliche, but let me explain a little bit more. When you look within, and you don't have to spend months doing it, it can be a day or two. When you look within and you really investigate what you love, what you're passionate about, what lights you up about certain experiences or certain visions of the future, then you find out, you get more data about yourself. Not only do you get more data about your purpose, your magic, like your impact in the world, your unique strengths, what you really want out of life, what lights you up. All of this information is data that you get that allows you to connect viscerally with this vision of what you want. And it's that connection that you get that gives you that feeling of confidence and inner knowing and clarity, so that when you do go to look for a job, you have a sense, an inner sense of whether or not it's the right option for you. So one good way to do this is to take a peak experience that you have had in the past. It can be any time, it can be a moment or a month, it can be when you were 13 years old. And it's a time where you maybe were firing on all cylinders, or you felt excited or really alive, or maybe you felt incredibly compassionate and connected with others. It's some kind of super expansive experience that you had that you would love to get back to. You'd love to carry that experience into your life more now. So take that experience and then ask yourself a series of questions about it. What is it that I loved about that? Who did I get to be when I was in that place or that situation? What impact did I have on other people? And what did I think about that? Like, how did I feel when I got to make that impact? What was I doing to make that impact? What were the values that I was in, that I was expressing when I was doing that? Is there a relationship between this and my purpose? So that one experience alone, you can mine for all kinds of information that can help guide you to making the right decision about moving forward, and connect you to your confidence so that you feel like it is possible. And when you reach inside, instead of discovering all that you don't know and getting more lost, actually what you're doing is you're connecting with your emotions, your emotional self, which helps you to feel grounded and clear. And you discover all that you do know about yourself. And often there is a lot to discover that you're not acknowledging that's really positive. So most people need a little bit of help, like a positive mirror to show them how beautiful their strengths are, or how amazing the impact of just being them is when they walk into a room, their unique kind of fingerprint in the world. So it may take asking for help and having somebody who's super positive and you trust can see you, can mirror this back to you, but it can also just mean that you put those glasses on yourself and look at yourself that way and really start to own the positive parts of you and acknowledge them. And this is a really empowering thing. And when you go there, so you've set aside negative thoughts, right? You've owned what you really want. You've really gotten vulnerable and said, okay, this is actually the thing that I want. And you've accepted that, then you're kind of open to the more possibility. And maybe you've discovered your purpose. You've discovered what you deeply care about that you want to express in the world. Like, I'll give an example of purpose. It doesn't have to be job related. It can be, my purpose is to make people feel wonderful. Or my purpose is efficiency, to make the world around me more efficient. Or my purpose is kindness and love. When you find your purpose at the core level like that, then you can look at job opportunities and you have this information inside where you can ask yourself, here's an opportunity. Can I express my purpose in this opportunity? In this situation, would I be able to express my purpose? And so you have a way of investigating possibility that leads you to real discernment about whether or not this is the right job for you. So I find that when you get there, that naturally deciding that is possible comes along. You don't have to will yourself. It's not some great big giant leap, because all of a sudden you're seeing the bridge between here and there. You're seeing all of your positive attributes that can get you there. So let's compare the two paths and just review. Path one, you had a longing. You felt vulnerable. Now I'm saying you just because this is how I wrote this. You may not actually be in this place, and that's perfectly okay. So find what is useful for you out of it. But you feel vulnerable, and what you do with that vulnerability is there's a primal uh-oh. So you're starting from that place of limitation. The next step is you reach outside of yourself for some kind of guarantee or a sense of control or a sense of doing the right thing. Only doing the right thing is really grasping for shutting down the much bigger, more vulnerable possibility. And you, in the process of doing that, you take yourself out of yourself and you discover everything you don't know, and you're left with no way to answer those questions that you had in the first place. And then that's when you decide that it's impossible. So that is path one. Path two is you have the longing. You get real about your longing and spend some time there. You feel vulnerable because it is vulnerable to decide that you're going to create something that you actually want, that your heart wants. The next step is that instead of reaching outside, you reach inside. So you start with a level of trust in yourself, and you take time to do the exploration that you need to gather that data that can support you in taking risks, putting yourself out there, talking to people that you haven't met before, or talking to people in different industries, interviewing, whatever it is. You discover all that you know about yourself, and that helps you to ground in that confidence and that clarity. And ultimately, you're deciding that it is possible. And so what you're doing is you're just stepping into action. And even though you don't have a straight line or a guarantee, what you do have is you've settled into your personal authority. And I want to describe what that is. You know, instead of disempowering yourself by reaching outside of yourself, what you're doing is you're taking real responsibility for this process. You're taking responsibility for owning your strengths and also owning what really is possible, and holding yourself in the vulnerability and the risk taking. So even though it is a more vulnerable path, it is, the way that I think about it, it is a responsible path. It is what real responsibility is. So the risk of working with this way is that there is no guarantee. So it's not a straight shot, and no one is going to tell you or hand you, like the answer. You've got to figure out on your own, but with the benefits of this way is that you're constantly connecting to the resources inside you that tell you you have what it takes to figure it out. You have what it takes to take the next step. So I often notice there's a notable gain in confidence, not just around work, but also in general, in the way you hold yourself in life. There's an inner knowing and a self-trust that comes from approaching things from this vantage point, because you're embracing the process of getting to know yourself and connecting to yourself. There's multiple happy outcomes. So there isn't just one job out there that you've got to find or else you'll never be happy. The truth is more that there are multiple vehicles for expressing who you are and your purpose and the contribution that you want to make in the world. And you get to choose which of those vehicles you want to go into. You are building a life, not a job, this way. this process will impact you in ways that are, they just impact you in ways beyond the subject of getting this new job. It's more about you owning your own process and taking leadership in your life and becoming the leader who says, no, we're going to make this happen. No, this is a worthy cause. I am worthy of this, and I'm going to take on the project of getting myself there, and I'm willing and I'm excited, and I know there's no guarantee, but I trust myself. So that's where I like to see everybody working from when it comes to this idea of finding work that they love. And I'm going to skip that slide. Here is my information. So I want to offer you, if you're wondering at this point, you know, how do I do, I need more questions, that part about getting to know yourself, you know, how do I really do that? I wrote a book called Just Give Me Meaningful Work, and it's available in bookstores, online, pretty much most booksellers online, for something like $13.95 or $16.95. But I do have a PDF version. If you're willing to read that, if that's okay with you, that's free, and I'm willing to share that with you. Just go to meaningfulworkthebook.com and download it. And if you have any questions, you can also email me. I'm very accessible, julie@julieboyercoaching.com. And I think this is the point where we take questions.
Yes, thank you, Julie, for that powerful presentation. I hope everybody is starting to sit a little bit taller now as well, and sort of feeling a little bit confident in starting on this path. And while please type in your questions, any questions that you have, I have to share with you that as Julie and I were sort of working through this process and this collaboration, we really realized that Julie's strengths is working with you to identify the job that you really love, what you'd like to do next. And my part is the next part, where I can help you in your job search, in your interviews. So if you need more one-on-one help or group coaching, please contact Julie. If you want the one-on-one help from me on the next part, feel free to contact me there. You have our contact details. And I also want to invite any of you who have not joined my Facebook group yet. So it's I Am Back at Work. There is a page. There's also the Facebook group. It's a women's only group, and where we provide support for one another on a daily basis, career advice, tell you about different events that's happening, different job opportunities. So please feel free to join that. We're getting lots of different thanks here, Julie. Most excellent presentation, useful information. I'll give you another moment to ask any questions that you may have before we end today's webinar. Well, I think, Julie, this is it. So thank you for presenting today, and thank you everybody else for joining us today, and I hope to see you again in the near future.
Thanks, Mickey. Thanks, everybody.